Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Cody's Chopper Corner. Before today's video, I wanted to just talk to you guys for a minute. We have reached 1,000 subscribers in right around a month, and I'm just super thankful to you guys for the support and all the video recommendations, the cool stories in the comments and stuff. I love it. It's awesome. So just real quick, I wanted to kind of bring you guys up to speed on our operation here. So I've been getting a lot of questions about what we do if we are a full-time shop, and I kind of just wanted to go over that with you guys. So make a long story short, about almost 3 years ago now, one of my best friends, his dad, which is also one of my best friends, he bought this amazing property pretty much so we could all do this, you know, so our families could have a place to hang out, and so that we could raise our kids with some good memories on a cool property and be able to work on the stuff that we love. So I'm going to kind of give you guys a short tour around the shop and show you guys what's up. Alright, so this is Greasy Town. Pretty corny little name we came up with, yeah, like I said, around 3 years ago. And yeah, it's a pretty cool spot. We have this big shop up here, another shop up there, and I think we're roughly on 4 acres here. So yeah, let me bring you guys inside. Alright, so when you walk in here, we have AJ Anderson from Dreamco. This is his spot. Got this rad trike that he bought off of JP Rodman out of Raton, New Mexico. And yeah, this is AJ's little spot. We got the top shelf up here. He's got a lot of his bikes out in Iowa right now because he's doing some work out there. Pretty cool, Crazy Frank swing arm. I think he's gonna be doing a pan head out of this. We'll see. Then over here, let's go over here first. We're just cleaning up from our Halloween party that we did.
It's not right.
Yeah. But this is our fab area for the shop. Got a big table, some storage, welders, frame jig. Yeah, over here we have Carson Tippett, Hunter Anderson, and Jake Tippett. They have their spot right here. Later on, I'll probably do a feature on each guy in the shop and their bike that they've built. So let's go this way. Oh yeah, up here we have the sin bin. That's where all the bad things happen, or the good things. Let's go over here. This is where we're gonna be doing our video today. This is Jaden Sears' bay. I helped him build this cool little 60s style Sportster. You guys might have saw that on the last video on the Evo Sportsters. And then here we have my younger brother, Spencer Weber. This is his bay. He's currently got his shovel head out ripping around from, I think it was our second video with the intake leaks. And this is his big twin Evo chopper. Thing's pretty bad. He's been riding that thing all over the place for years. This is one of AJ's bikes. This is his other swing arm knucklehead that he built a couple years ago. 93 inch stroker. It's a pretty bad motorcycle. Our buddy Levi, he's building this generator shovel that's super bad. It's gonna be a cool bike. And then this area over here is our buddy Lips. Some of you guys might know him. He's a pretty cool dude. He's got this really cool 96-inch stroker generator shovel, chrome ollie frame. Supposedly this bike came from one of the guys that started STD. He built this thing as a drag bike back in the day. Then Lips bought it from him and kind of made it more of like a muscle bike. Thing's super badass. It's got a generator mount, magneto on it. Super cool. It's got a rigid Crazy Frank fender with a Freddie Hernandez seat on it. Pretty rare, cool piece. And then we got the center line. If you know about those things, they are not cheap. But yeah, this is Lips's bay. And over here, like I said, we're cleaning up from the Halloween party, so I got a bunch of cobwebs all over my lathe and music equipment in here. But yeah, this is my bay right here. A couple bikes I built recently. Got this 80-inch Big Twin Evo chopper I built for my wife. Working on that a little bit over the winter. Got my 48 pan head chopper that I'm just finishing up. And then we got my wife's old Sportster. Really fun bike to ride. I kind of had it set up as like an early XLCH and then changed it around a little bit because I'm trying to sell this bike right now. And this is the Hell Bitch, my daily rider shovel head. It's a 93-inch stroker, mag fired, big cam. Super fun bike. I've ridden this bike all over the place. But yeah, so it's kind of a little rundown on our shop here. And yeah, I'll introduce you guys more to these guys. Like I said, I want to try to do a couple videos of these guys and their bikes, and they can kind of tell you how they decided to build them and why they decided to build them. But yeah, just another huge thank you to you guys. Super cool that you're supporting us and helping us grow the channel. I didn't really think it would take off the way it did, but hopefully it keeps going. Well, let's get into today's video. So today we're gonna go over basically getting your drivetrain leveled and aligned. A lot of people overlook this step or don't think it's very important, but this is how a lot of bikes, this is one of the reasons why these bikes are so expensive, is because for one, they don't make this stuff anymore. Obviously, like Harley doesn't. You can buy aftermarket cases and all that, but it's cool to have original equipment. We're gonna talk about shimming your motor and transmission cases. This is really important because let's say, I'm gonna turn you guys around here. So let's say you tighten these two back motor mount bolts all the way down, right, onto the frame. This is a little engine stand I've had forever. Just figured it would be easier than using a frame. But anyways, let's say you tighten both of these down all the way and you come over to the front and you have a gap in between your engine case and the frame. Most guys back in the day didn't care. They would just tighten the shit out of these to close these gaps up. Hey, be quiet. They tighten these gaps up, and what that does is it will close that gap if you tighten these down, but there's a bunch of tension on these ears right here. And if you ever go to a swap meet or you're looking on Chopper Swapper or something, a very, very common repair is going to be right in here, where these ears will snap off because of that tension. It doesn't seem like a lot, but you got to think about, these are all rigid mounted motors and transmissions and everything. So if you're closing up a gap like that, it's going to create that tension over time. The motor vibrating and everything, it will end up snapping these off. Most of the time it's these ones, but I've even seen cracks start to form on these big thick ones back here too, so don't force it. You want to do the same thing with your transmission plate. See this plate here? You always tighten the front down or the rear as tight as you're gonna run it, you know, pretty tight. You can look up the spec. But yeah, you'll tighten these down all the way, and then if this thing's doing like a diving board motion in the back and you have a little gap like that, and then you tighten this down all the way, these love to break, like right up in here on both sides. And like I said, I've even seen them break in the thicker points back here. So you definitely want to shim these out. These back here, you can just use like normal shim washers. And sorry, going back, you'll tighten this down all the way and then check this. All right, so we're gonna get some voiceover action in here. I didn't realize how badly I explained this until I was editing it. You need to tighten the rear motor mount down all the way, then check the front motor mount for a gap. If you have no gap, then loosen the rear motor mount, go to the front, tighten the front motor mount all the way down, and check the rear for a gap. Shim accordingly, or if you're good, you're good. A lot of guys like to use small block Chevy starter shims for shimming the front, and they come in different sizes. So basically, if you can slide the shim in and feel a little bit of resistance, that's the one you want to use. A tiny bit of a gap is okay. Like anything you're gonna be able to like slide like a small feeler gauge into probably isn't gonna be a big deal, but I mean, it's kind of up to you how in depth you want to go when you're trying to shim these. Usually if I look through and I can see a little bit of light or something, that's not a big deal. But if you can like stick a pretty decent sized feeler gauge into there, you're gonna want to shim it. But also you want to check on these, you want to shim each side differently. I mean, sometimes they can be the same, but you never know. If you have a different case on your right side than your left side, then your left side might need to be shimmed and your right side doesn't, or vice versa. So just got to kind of pay attention to that. All right, and then another thing you kind of want to pay attention to is sometimes guys will, like if they ever put a motor into like an old junky frame that's kind of bent or whatever, they'll take and drill these holes out on each of these just so they can get their motor mount bolts to drop in. And I mean, yeah, you can do that. You really want to fix the problem the right way, but you want to make sure if somebody's ever done that and you're putting it into your frame, you don't want the motor cocked over to one side too much. You know, you want to try to keep this whole thing in line as best as possible. And then the next thing we're going to cover is aligning your drivetrain. So this is like an old junky belt I have just to show you guys for mock-up. It doesn't really fit on the pulley very well, but we'll try to get this a little better for you guys. There you go. This is all loose. But yeah, let me throw this transmission on here and I will show you guys how to align this whole thing. All right, so what you're gonna need to do is grab yourself something like this little, I think it's just like a stainless steel ruler. You can like buy these from like the dollar store and stuff, they're pretty cheap. This is really the only specialty tool that you need when you're doing this. So what we're going to look at before we align this is a common side effect of, sorry, you guys are all over the place. A common side effect of not aligning your belt properly. Right here. You'll start to get this fraying and peeling. These belts are not cheap. So, like for instance on my shovel head over there, I've been running that same belt for going on 6 years. And I've never had to mess with it. Like, just keep the proper tension on it, make sure you're aligned right, and they should last a long time. Like, I don't have any wear on that belt or anything. So yeah, if your belt starts doing this, or I mean, this thing is obviously a lot thinner than it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be 1.5 inches, and it looks like it's almost down to 1 inch. So anyways, yeah, let me throw this on here and I will show you guys how to get it properly aligned. Very, very basic, starting out super simple. These transmissions sit on a slotted hole so you can adjust your belt tension forward to back. There's different styles of these. Like, this is an earlier style plate, like panhead style, knucklehead style, where they have an adjustment screw that goes into the transmission. It actually threads into the transmission. This is a cone shovel ratchet top transmission, so it doesn't have that, because the earlier bikes have a tin primary and these ones just have, from the factory, they'll have aluminum inner primary that aligns everything, so you don't really have to worry about it. And then on the inside of the bike, it has a chain drive with a chain tensioner that holds the tension up. So that kind of handles all of that, and that's super nice. But if you're gonna run an open belt drive, you really want to make sure you get all this dialed in. So I'll show you guys really quick on my panhead. If I can show you, this is how the earlier setup is ran. If you can see that, you adjust this nut right here that threads into the transmission, and that will push the transmission on those slots forward or backwards. Super nice, because like I said, the earlier ones have this tin style primary that doesn't really offer any strength or rigidity. It's pretty flimsy, so that's how you're adjusting that. But let's go back over here. So you'll take and push your transmission back until there's tension on this, and you don't want to run these super tight. Some guys say you got to run them like a guitar string. That's crazy. You want to be able to turn your belt when it's tight about almost halfway, like that, and that's great. You don't want it to be like flopping super hard, but I mean, that's a little loose. I can't really pull this back as tight because I don't have this on all the way. So you'll get it to about right there for tension, and then you'll look down here. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but you have this nut here in the front of the transmission, and then you have one on that side right there, one back here, and then your fifth mount that mounts directly under your kicker. So you'll want to just barely snug those nuts up to where they're not tight, but like, so you'll still be able to move the transmission forward and backwards, but you don't want to have it have any rock or anything like that. So you'll get those snugged, and then you take your straight edge and you want to bring your straight edge straight to the back of this so it's level with the back. See? You'll hold it up against here, and then you can see we're already way off. If you look down the belt, this gap is what you don't want to see. So that would mean this transmission needs to turn this side here would need to go forward. So we'll try that. Turn just about that much. Put this back on here. See that amount of belt sticking out? It's way less now. So yeah, you just got to keep messing with it like that. It'll go a little bit more. And then maybe pull this side back a hair. And we'll check it again. That's pretty much right on. And it's kind of like, it's easy, but it's one of those things where you have to kind of just keep messing with it. And sometimes if you have a friend come in with a pry bar and he can get in here and kind of push the transmission back to get the tension. And then what you'll do is you'll keep checking this, making sure that this is flush on the back of the clutch basket. Checking your alignment. That looks really good. I would run that. And then as long as your tension is still correct, which that feels really good right there. I don't know if you guys can really see that. You don't really want it any more than that. That's maybe even on the loose side. So your tension's good, your alignment's good. Then you can start slowly snugging up the transmission studs down here and get that locked into place, and that should be your alignment right there. I'm going to show you guys this real quick too, going back to the first part of the video when we were talking about shimming. A lot of bikes on the 5th mount right here, this is a support for your transmission for kickstart bikes. So when your fat ass is jumping up and down on your kicker pedal, this mount right here supports the transmission so it doesn't break these cases or anything. So these will sometimes need to be shimmed. Sometimes when you put them into your frame, depending on the kind of transmission mount you're using, or I mean transmission plate, sometimes they're a little higher or a little lower. You just want to make sure you don't have any gaps between the transmission and the plate, between the transmission and the 5th mount, or up here between your plate and your frame. So just make sure everything's sitting flush, nothing's up in the air, especially before you go to do your final torque down on all of these. And just keep an eye on it, because the last thing you want is for all of this stuff to settle while you're out on the road. Then your belt's out of alignment, you could be cracking your cases. Again guys, these things are not cheap. The price on these ratchet top 4-speeds have gone up dramatically in the last couple years, and you don't want to break them, because there's guys out there like me that like to run the original stuff, and because some tweaker doesn't know how or is just too lazy to do it the correct way, we're losing a lot of this stuff at a fast rate. And this stuff is not easy to fix. My friend Brandon, he's got a YouTube channel, House of Choppers. He's excellent at fixing cases and doing all that, but it's not easy. Like these old cases, the aluminum they used when they cast these is pretty terrible quality aluminum. And what happens is after years of these things leaking and having oil inside of them, aluminum is porous and oil will seep into those pores. So you can imagine when welding these, like welding aluminum in general, your worst enemy is dirty metal. And if there's a bunch of oil sitting inside the pores of this stuff, which it does, it makes it a nightmare to weld. There's a couple guys out there that are really good at doing it, but it's not easy and it's not cheap. So the reason I went into that hole is just make sure you shim things properly and you won't have any problems. Don't be an idiot. So another thing that I picked up over the last couple of years of running these is a lot of people think that you need to have this little lip right here. You do not have to have this. This is, I guess, just like a boot cover or something, so you're not rubbing on your leg or whatever. It is not to keep this belt on. That's a common misconception. I see guys like looking for these, thinking that they have to have them to keep their belt on. If your belt is aligned properly, it should never move from the place where you set it when you align it. Keep that in mind. These aren't that important. Also, a huge tip is if you're on the side of the road and something happens to where you need to get your belt off, you don't want to have to take your clutch basket off. You don't want to have to mess with all of this stuff here. You don't want to have to try to take this off, because after you've torqued this down or run Loctite or whatever you want to do, this nut is so hard to get off. So you really don't want to mess with that. If you have it on there and it's not coming loose, just leave it alone. And that's another tip on not running this, because if you don't have this ring on a roadside fix, you can sit there and mess around with this and get your belt off of your pulley without having to take the pulley off. All right, guys, so just an overview of what we talked about. Shim your stuff properly. Shim your engine mounts, shim your transmission mounts, all these 5 underneath, and also the plate. Doing your belt alignment. It's not hard, but you have to do it right, or else you'll be cruising through belts. One other thing that I just remembered, if you're like at a swap meet or on Chopper Swapper or whatever, these belt drives, they're not universal. There's 2 different pitches. They have the 11mm and the 8mm. Obviously you can't mix those because they're a completely different tooth pitch down in here. The 8mm is the fine tooth, the 11 is the I guess coarse, because they measure from tooth to tooth. It's not the actual tooth width, it's the gap in between. So this is an 8mm, and even deeper than that, I had a friend that was gonna come meet us out in Boise, Idaho, and he was riding from Ogden, Utah, and he went through, I think, 3 belts on his way out there, and we all couldn't figure out why he kept breaking the belts. They looked like they fit just fine, and come to find out, he just had pieced together a belt drive off of, I think, Chopper Swapper. And what had happened was, somewhere along the line, somebody had switched this pulley out here from the one that came with the kit, and they were both 8mm, but if you go on BDL's website, they'll give you a tooth count for the basket, a tooth count for the front pulley, and the belt that you need. And he didn't have a matching set, and so after like 100 miles or so, somewhere in here, one of these teeth was landing on one of the peaks instead of the valleys, and it would just destroy the belt. So it was shaving off teeth, it was snapping the belts. So BDL is a good place to go to and look up if you're not sure, because it's always better to figure it out first before you figure it out on the side of the road. So you'd want to count your teeth. I usually just put a Sharpie mark on one of these teeth and it sucks, but count all the way around, do it a couple times, write it down, make sure you're getting the same number on both of these. Obviously they're not going to be the same exact number, but make sure when you count them you're getting the same number when you count this one and you count this one. And then on BDL's website they have the chart that'll tell you the belt that you need. Usually the belts will have a part number on them right here, and that's how you'll know if you have the correct belt set up. I think that's going to do it for today's video, you guys. Again, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. It's been really fun. I love hearing your guys' stories and comments, even the ones that, I mean, go through the comments, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, get out there, work on your projects. If you guys need help with anything or have any other suggestions on videos, let me know. This one came from my buddy Ed. His Instagram name is Night of the Living Ed. Super awesome dude, very knowledgeable. And I don't know if I said this before, I definitely should have. All of this isn't my ideas and stuff. I know a little bit about this stuff, but a lot of it is suggestions from people, and it's helping me out. So thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Shake.